Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is the third and fourth chapter for the story The Forced Marriage with the Werewolf Prince. Chapter 3 The Princess's Sister. Adriana's Christopher's point of view. I didn't have any idea what to say or what to do as the Prince Daniel made me sit in the carriage and rode off to the place he only knew. It wasn't like I could do anything anyways. Royals are said to be royals for a reason. They are way too powerful even than an alpha, and I was just an average wolf. There was no way that I could defend myself and get back alive. So I did the thing that I was best at, to stay quiet and do what others wanted. This mantra saved me several times from my father's wrath, so it could save me from this one as well. I surely didn't want to get married, not to a heartless man like the prince, at least. Not to someone who isn't my mate. Even though my mate is horrible, he is still my mate, the one who is destined for me by the moon goddess. After what felt like an eternity, the carriage halted in front of the huge, magnificent castle. I couldn't stop my mouth from falling looking at the sight in front of me as I stepped out of the carriage. The castle looked like those in fairy tales. Beautiful white brick wall, the top part of the castle is conical shape, faced flower garden surrounding the castle, a huge lake in front of it, surrounded by the beautifully shaped green plants. I couldn't help but be thankful to get to see such a sight. Stop gaping and get inside. I don't have all the time in the world. It was the cold voice of the werewolf prince. Prince Daniel was already standing at the entrance of the castle with his hands folding across his chest and his face holding no emotions. This man is so rude. Does he ever smile? I stared at him for a while before shaking my head. I don't think he smiles often. Warding the thoughts of my head, I followed the prince into the castle in utter silence. If I thought the sight outside was the best I've ever seen, then I was absolutely wrong, because inside of the castle was something I could never fathom. Beige painted walls, wooden walls which were designed to perfection, Victorian Gothic interiors, artifacts and antiques decored each corner of this place. The place itself screamed royalty. My father is a rich man, but I never got to see such a place in my life. This place itself is beyond words. After taking a few lefts and rights throughout the huge corridors, we finally stopped in front of a mahogany door. Prince Daniel opened the door and entered inside the room that represented like that of a study room, while I stood outside the room wondering what to do. Once he entered inside, he turned around and raised his brow in my direction. Is he challenging me? In return, I raised my brow as well. He sighed before speaking. Are you going to stand out there the whole day, or will you get in? Great. I made the fool of myself. Hesitantly, I stepped into the study. There was a huge bookshelf at one corner of the study with piles of books were stocked. At the center lay the huge mahogany table that had many files placed on them and an inkwell placed beside it. Danny! Oh, hello! My attention was suddenly caught by the sweet voice, and I turned around to my right to find a beautiful woman with blue eyes and blonde hair seated on the couch with a little girl on her lap. She smiled at me and got up from the couch, making the girl, who looked no less than 6, sit on the couch, but the little girl ran past the woman and hugged Prince Daniel. Dan! Prince Daniel lifted the girl and carried her in his arms. Hey, Cammy. A small smile played on his lips as he kissed the little girl's cheek. I rubbed my eyes to confirm whether I wasn't hallucinating. Did he just smile? He looked cute when he did that. Hello, I'm Mariana Rodriguez, Daniel's sister. It's nice to meet you. The beautiful woman introduced herself with a smile, but I couldn't help the surprise I received, or rather shock. Is this really the werewolf queen? The tabloids are right about her. She is indeed painstakingly beautiful and also seems sweet, unlike her arrogant brother. Ariana, Your Highness, I accepted her hand for a handshake. Please don't go for the title. You can call me Ariana. She gave yet another sweet smile before turning to her brother, who was holding the little girl in his arms as she spoke to him in her cute voice. Cammy, sweetheart, why don't you go and ask Martha to read you the story from the book you got from the fair? The werewolf queen Ariana suggested, the girl who nodded and got down from the princess's arms. Yes, Mom, I totally forgot. The story looked interesting. Thank you for making me remember. Cammy, the little girl, grinned before making her way toward the exit. Once she was near the door, she turned her head and grinned in my direction. You're beautiful, she said to me and rushed out of the room. I smiled. She was a cute little girl. I didn't know you had a visitor, Danny, Ariel addressed me once her daughter left. Well, I'm glad you got someone after a long time. How was your visit to Alpha Antony's pack house? We're getting married, Ariel. He pointed his finger at me and then him. What? Naked shock formed in Ariel's eyes as her brothers said that. She looked at her brother as if he had lost his mind, but soon enough a smile grew on her lips. Do you love her? Her statement was cut by Daniel, who again spoke in his cold voice. I'm marrying her as a form of punishment to the Alpha. There is nothing more to that. She is his mate, and what could be more effective than manipulating him through his mate? A look of sadness appeared on Ariel's face as she looked at her brother. But Daniel, it's not right. Please, Ariel, try to understand. I'm doing this for the best. We can't accept people to deny our truths of peace and spread violence. This will be an example to all of those who try to neglect our rules in the future, that they should never mess with the royals. I sighed and eluded Ariel's lips as she gazed at her brother and then at me. It seems like she was having an internal conflict about whether to accept her brother's shame or to get me out of this mess. When is the wedding? So she chose her brother. Of course, family comes first. And here I had a little hope that she would help me. Tomorrow, Daniel announced, shocking both of us. Chapter 4: The Marriage. Ariana's point of view. I stared at my reflection in the mirror. The beautiful white wedding gown effaced my curves well. It was body fitted in the top and the lower parts represent a fish cut. My chestnut hair was styled at the front while the rest of my hair was left free, which was a little longer than the shoulder blade. My face was powdered with the talcum, and pink rose petals were crushed and applied on my lips and a bit on my cheeks. I sighed. I agree. I look pretty, but do I really want to do this? Do I really want to get married to a heartless man like Prince Daniel? It's not like I have an option. I am completely powerless here. A tiny part of me actually expected my mate to show up and stop all this. but then I could never expect something from my worthless life. For all I know, my mate must be happy to get rid of me. I wanted to cry out in frustration and helplessness. I have always been like this, helpless and useless. A huge part of me wanted to end this misery and give up on everything, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't choose the path my mother chose from herself to end her life, leaving me to suffer the aftermath. I had promised myself to never shed a tear because of anyone, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay strong even if hell breaks. With that encouragement throughout in my head, I exited my room and made my way to the main hall of the castle. I didn't know why I was dressed up so much since there wasn't many people going to be present where the wedding will take the place. It's only going to be the priest, me, Prince Daniel, and the two witnesses who are Ariel and her husband James, along with her daughter Cami. I took a deep breath before descending down the staircase. As I reached at the end of the stairs, I spotted Ariel standing beside the brown-haired, green-eyed man who had his arm around her waist as he stared at his wife and kissed her temple. I instantly looked away. A pang of envy crossed within me at the affection they shared. It was clear that they both loved each other dearly, and I adored them for that. After all, it's rare to find such love. Kami came running to me and held my hand in her little one's, which surprised me. She looked up at me with a bright smile. "You look beautiful, Ari. Can I call you Ari?" she asked, although she already called me by that name many times since yesterday. "Thank you, and yes, you can call me by that name." I kissed her cheeks, resulting her smile to widen. Cami is a lovely child. She had been tagging along with me since I arrived, talking about her friends, the candies she liked and the candies she didn't like, the teachers who were her favorites, and the toys she bought, and so on and so on. "You look wonderful, Ariana." Ariel came up to me with a warm smile. Her husband a few steps behind her. "This is James, my husband. James, this is Ariana." She introduces us to each other. "Nice to meet you," James said with a smile, his arm still around his wife's waist securely. "Likewise," I smiled back. "Now let's get started with the wedding ceremony." Cami reluctantly let go of my hand as Ariel led me to the altar where the prince awaited our presence. I had always thought that a bride walked to the altar with her father beside her, blessing her with the sweet words for the life that was to come, but in my case, my father didn't even know that I was getting married, not that he would ever do something like that. My father was shocked even to know that I was the alpha's mate. I don't know what would happen to him when he learns that I got married to the prince himself. Prince Daniel looked really handsome in his black tuxedo. He looked even every inch of prince, only that he wasn't the Prince Charming material. Ariel placed my hand on her brother's, and to my utter surprise, his hand was warm and soft, unlike his cold exterior. Soon enough, the ceremony began. Prince Daniel and I slid the rings into each other's fingers. The vows began, and we said our I-dos, moving forward to the most dreadful part. I thought my wolf would object all this. Didn't the wolves object any contact with other males except their mates? Here I was getting married, but my wolf didn't speak a word, as if she wasn't there in the first place. "By the power invested in me, I pronounce you as husband and wife." You may now kiss the bride, the prince announced, making my heart beat louder in my chest. I didn't want this. I didn't want him to steal my first kiss, but I couldn't do anything. Feeling absolutely powerless, I closed my eyes, preparing myself for what was to come. Prince Daniel surprised me when he pulled me by my waist and kissed me on my cheek, instead resulting my eyes to flutter open. Count your clock and be prepared, because I'll torture you so much until your mate will stumble here accepting the truth and begging for me to release you, he whispered, only for me to hear. One thing about the royals was that they could block their voice from reaching to others' hearing. So it means none of the others heard him. I looked up at him. He just stared at me with his cold eyes before backing away. I stood frozen to the spot as his voice sank in. I gulped hard. I wasn't prepared for this.